All right. Hello and welcome to tonight's Red Barn event. Thank you all so much for being here. We want to open this evening with a land acknowledgement. This land acknowledgement was created alongside the Shin-Pishquashu people, and we are spreading the message they wish to be spread to the public. The land Wenatchee River Institute sits on is the ancestral homelands of the Shin-Pishquashu, Piscosa, or Wenatchee people. The Shin-Pishquashu, meaning people in between, had villages positioned along the Wenatchee River and surrounding areas. Their ancestral homeland extends from the Cascade Ridge throughout what is now known as the Wenatchee and Okanagan valleys. The culture and economy of the Shin-Pishquashu people centers on taking care of the land. They fish, hunt, gather roots and berries, basket-making materials, and medicines. The Shin-Pishquashu are named within the Yakima Treaty of 1855. Language to establish the Wenatchee Reservation was never followed through, even with the needed surveying completed. Many Shin-Pishquashu now live on the Colville Reservation, 150 miles northeast of Leavenworth. They were forced off their land here, and the U.S. government moved them to this reservation. The Shin-Pishquashu are still alive today. They continue to practice their culture, harvest their traditional foods and medicines, and hold their ceremonies passed down from their ancestors. Most people won't see or notice them, but they continue to be on the land they are connected to. Their traditional language is Inhamchin, an interior Salish dialect, and we would like to welcome you all by saying hello in their language, Tilhusht. We offer this land acknowledgement as the first step to amplifying Indigenous voices and recognizing the harm done to them as a people. We stand as an ally to recognize their connection to the land and their rights to practice their culture on these sacred lands. We encourage all to learn about the Indigenous peoples of the place you now call home. The Wenatchee River Institute is committed to sharing this land acknowledgement and following up with other actions to educate and be respectful. Thank you. And thank you to the Wenatchee Advisory Group and the staff who've worked really hard to put this together so we are able to share the message that the Shin-Pishquashu want shared. And thank you all for being here this evening. Before I introduce our speaker, I want to take a couple minutes to introduce Wenatchee River Institute and the staff who are here this evening. I'm Rebecca, I'm the Education Director. Also here this evening, we have Joshua, who is one of our community programs educators and plans events such as this one. And then Randy, who is our outreach manager and helps make sure everyone knows about all of the cool things we have happening here at Wenatchee River Institute. Wenatchee River Institute is a nonprofit with a mission to connect people, communities, and the natural world, and we work towards our mission through our youth and community education programs. This week in our youth education programs, fifth graders from the Traveling Naturalist in the Classroom program are visiting WRI for a field trip. The Traveling Naturalist in the Classroom program helps extend WRI's reach, bringing hands-on monthly science lessons to 4th and 5th grade classes throughout North Central Washington. So earlier today, this presentation room was a fire science lab, and they were building matchstick forests to test the effects of fire ecology. And we'll be reverting the space back into a science lab tomorrow morning. So I might ask for your help at the end to clean up some chairs. Our community education programs are made up of events such as this one, our seasonal nature walks, and a variety of classes and workshops, as well as many other things. A few of our upcoming programs include Make a Difference Day, which is happening this Saturday, an Autumn Amble taking place next week, and a Red Barn event about biochar production that's in a couple of weeks. We are so grateful to our Red Barn event sponsors. These businesses support us and help keep our Red Barn events free for folks to attend. So I wanted to take a minute to acknowledge all of these wonderful businesses. Our sponsors this year are Gustav's Grill and Beer Garden, Ludwig's German Restaurant, Obertal Inn, Posey Handpicked Goods, South Restaurants, Hotel Pension Anna, München House, Sleeping Lady Mountain Resort, North Central Washington Audubon Society, Icicle Brewing, the Cove Resort at Fish Lake, Kolchak Consignment, Riverfront Rock Gym, and Mountain Home Lodge. And now that I've introduced WRI, our youth education, our community education programs, I'm really excited to introduce our presenter, Ellen. Ellen joined Stevens Pass as general manager in June of 2022. Ellen graduated from the University of Washington and is back in the Pacific Northwest after nearly 20 years working in mountain operations at Beaver Creek, Colorado, and Northstar, California. Ellen, thank you so much for being here this evening. Now I'll move the podium and turn it over to you.
Love you. Thank you for having me. I'll do a quick time check here. I'll spend a few minutes just providing a little bit of information about my background. This will be repeat information for some that are here tonight, and talk about what it's been like at Stevens since my arrival in June, and what we're working on and what we're all looking forward to for this winter. So, and then I think we'll open it up for questions, discussion, go from there. So, yeah, I am originally from Anchorage, Alaska. That's where I was born and raised. My parents are from the Pacific Northwest, and so came down to Washington to visit family in the summers. Was able to ski race as a youngster, and that took me a few different places around the lower 48, and really returned or came to Washington to get to know my family better in school. And during that time, I was a coach at Alpental Snoqualmie, was able to come to Stevens a few times for ski races and just to go free skiing. Have a fun memory of skiing the transition from 1999 into 2000 at Stevens, which is a fond memory. Also during school, I had the opportunity to work at the 2002 Winter Olympics in Snow Basin on the race crew. There were a handful of Alaskans that were there, and I had some connections to that group. And so when I was done with school, one of the things that I did was follow some of the people I had worked with in Utah to Beaver Creek in the race department at Beaver Creek, and built my life around doing that event for the next 10 years. Spent some time on the road, worked for some different organizations, ended up starting my own business so I could keep following this passion of doing this race crew work and building race courses. Spent 8 years as a seasonal part-time employee. During that time, I moved to the Vail Valley full-time. I moved back in with my billet family that had taken me in as a teenager and didn't leave till I was 30. Extra parents are a wonderful thing. Yeah, during that time, Beaver Creek was awarded the 2015 World Alpine Ski Championships. And having been on the race crew at the Olympics and seeing that sport at its height, the opportunity to become the manager of the race department became an option. And I knew that if I ran the race department, I would get to be the chief of course for the women's events at 2015. And that was a dream come true for me. So spent those next 4 years from 2011 to 2015. It felt like 2 full-time jobs. It was one, running the race department and preparing and building and planning that event. There's always been a men's race at Beaver Creek, but we built a women's venue to go with it. When that was over, I was exhausted. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't know if I needed to go find a job. And after actually coming to Washington for a few weeks to decompress, was offered a position as in charge of snow surfaces at Beaver Creek. And that means snowmaking and grooming and summer construction, which for us is timber, any snowmaking infrastructure, anything like that. Also oversaw the race department and eventually train parks. A job I like to summarize as snow and dirt. That was my responsibility. Building race courses was an incredible part of my life, and it's a community I'm still involved in somewhat, but building a mountain is a whole nother adventure. Coming in with a grooming and a racing background, I jumped into the deep end on snowmaking, which is a fascinating aspect of the ski industry, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for engineers and all of the things that go into snowmaking, which is not part of Stevens Pass. So I will stop that and keep going. It's an interesting time of year to not be obsessed with a little obsessed with humidity and temperatures right now with the forest fires burning. But after 4 years in that role, I felt ready for a challenge and that it was time to get out of my team's way. And people working for me that were ready to take on additional responsibility. And had always been interested in going to Northstar. Northstar and Beaver Creek share some similarities. They're kind of in the luxury quadrant of the Vail Resorts portfolio. And the job had opened once, but I wasn't ready to go for it. And when it opened a second time, my husband was on board, which is a prerequisite for any move or application to be submitted. And we spent 18 months at Northstar, where I was the senior director, the mountain manager, if you will, of Northstar, California. It was an amazing resort with an amazing team. It was also a really challenging time. It was COVID. Lost a couple members of my team when I was there, and did not expect to leave Northstar after 2 seasons, but something I felt I needed in my development was a better understanding of our whole business and all the things that weren't on a mountain in running a ski area. So had the opportunity to apply for and became the chief of staff to the president of the mountain division of Vail Resorts. James O'Donnell oversees all 41 of our ski areas. He's also one of the most amazing human beings I'd ever met in our company. And when he moved into that role, and again, I had a very strong team underneath me, took that opportunity. That brought me back to Colorado. I was looking forward to and expected to spend a little time in Broomfield, but COVID had other ideas. So I walked from my bedroom to my guest room and sat at a computer inside Monday to Friday from 6:30 a.m. to about 5 p.m. My boss was an early bird, which I loved. But it was different. It was the first time I hadn't been out in the operation and doing the thing, but instead be supporting the teams that were doing the thing. And it was quite a year last year, not just here at Stevens, but across the company. In January, some stuff happened last year, and I was sitting there going, this is a place I care about. I have friends and family in this area. I have heard feedback from people I know who live here. And something I've said publicly a few times, and my team knows, called my boss and said, can I just go? Can I just go and be a set of hands? Had the opportunity to work with some people in this room for a couple weeks and be part of the transition last winter, and had fully expected to stay in that role longer, but this place gets a hold of you. And again, chatted with my husband, and this is one of the places that he wanted to be. 4 years, 4 moves in 4 years is a lot on a family. But he also has friends here and has connections to the area, and with his blessing, put my hand up and applied for the job, and couldn't have been happier that this will be my 20th season with Vail Resorts, and my mom's in Bellingham and my dad's in San Juan County, and I am closer to family and have reconnected with some old friends, and happy to be here and ready to settle for a bit. So Stevens Pass. It was awesome to get here in June, to get back outside, to be back with a team. It's the thing I missed the most. Was a huge part of who I am, and what brings me joy and satisfaction is being a part of a team and building things and doing things together, and all of the fun that comes with that, and the muck that comes with that. We got open on June 24th. I think it was scenic rides and food and beverage and disc golf that started in the snow. We really were excited that Bike Park was going to be back, and we needed a little bit more time to repair trails and get the mountain ready after 2 years of Bike Park being shut down. But it was great to be open, and I think all of us, it felt good to do some reps before we actually were ready to open Bike Park in July. A little later than we had hoped, and we were going to do it right. And so felt really confident in the product that we opened with. The rest of July, August was great. It was hot, and it was a good summer. well, we closed the first day for a fire to the east of us. Then in September, we all have had our lives impacted with the Bull Creek fire to our west. For Stevens Pass, the wind was blowing from the east at that time. And so the impacts from that event went westward, and they're impacting all of us today. We have an additional fire that's burning a little closer to the resort right now that I will sleep better. My blood pressure will continue to come down with the moisture of the next 2 days. But air quality, was just something we had to reckon with in September, and we're not going to put our staff out. People may feel like they can bike for an hour or two in less than perfect air quality, but if you have to run a lift for 10 hours a day, that's my responsibility. And so, wrapped up an otherwise successful season. And I think we're all pumped for next year and what that's going to look like. 5,049 scoops of ice cream this young woman and her partner scooped. If you bought a day ticket, Stevens Pass, it was hard to walk through the base area and be like, well, everyone else has ice cream. Where's mine? Which was really fun. This winter, we have been both focused on having a good summer and preparing for this winter and getting Stevens Pass back to everything we know it is and will be. 3 priorities for me from day one: staff, safety, and our core business. We are nothing without our team. We can provide nothing without our team. Staff has shifted somewhat from not only this summer and this very strong emphasis on hiring to now training and retention. What will this experience be? Last year was hard on everyone. If you were running a department, you were also doing the work of the department. And so there's some ground to make up there of what does staff training look like? And are we all ready and getting everyone back and onboarded? We're in a good spot. We're not done. We're not taking our foot off the gas. And you hear this from me repeatedly. But we are more staffed at this point than we were all of last year. And we're feeling good about the season and same, we're not done. We'll talk about housing in a second, and any help anyone in this room can provide with beds that may be available for us to lease. Take 1, I'll take 5, I'll take 20. And safety is at the core of everything we do. I've never had priorities without safety being part of them. For us right now, it's in the middle. It's how we ran our bike park. It's how we're preparing for this winter. Yes, we will get every trail open the second we can, but Ski Patrol makes that call. And our core business, that is, we are saying no to all of the things that we need to say no to. So we say yes to the most important things. Got to be able to park, got to have the lift spinning, got to have places for people to eat. And anything that's going to take us off track from what is most central and most core to what success looks like for us this winter, that's on the not yet list. Maybe a great idea. There might be a time for it soon, but we have to stay centered and focused on what is at our core and what is most important. So those are the big highlights from me. I think the one other thing I'll mention is communication and the blog that Tom started. And I don't have a large social media presence. It's not who I am. It's not authentic to me. But while I wondered what that would feel like to pick up the communication that Tom started, it's been incredibly empowering. Our community knows what's happening. I write my update for our resort leadership team, and then I'm going, all right, now what are we going to tell the community? And there's a high degree of carryover there. So it's actually been, it's felt amazing. It's felt incredibly empowering to know how much and feel how much this community, the greater Stevens Pass community, cares about this resort and wants to know what's happening and wants this resort to be successful. So that should continue. Opening date is scheduled for December 2nd. That one will open. Mother Nature will decide. Was chatting with my direct reports the other day about our focus. Should we get favorable conditions ahead of that date? Should it come a little bit after? So we are focused on being open for winter. Yeah, that is what's next. And yeah, think I'll stop there, and I am here. I'm here to answer questions. I will defer to expertise if it's in the room. Yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering if you can just explain how Vail works, like with a large corporation where who do you report to? Southwest person?
Yeah,
Vail.
great.
For questions.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Ready to go.
So I'm gonna run around and just hold your question till I get to you. We unmuted, and then so everyone online can hear what you're asking.
Forget they're there. They're out there.
Okay, my question for you internet folk is how does Vail work? I'm wondering if Ellen can share who she reports to and what the like tiers of Vail is like.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to answer that question. I think our company board of directors is a publicly traded company, but our executive committee. So Kirsten Lynch, our CEO, head of marketing, head of legal, head of HR, head of finance, and the like. IT's got a seat in there. There's more. No offense to anyone I'm skipping at this moment. And then James O'Donnell is the president of the Mountain Division. So he's the guy I worked for last year. And then also on the executive committee are 3 regional chief operating officers. So the Western region, which is the coolest thing ever, also includes Australia. So my weekly meetings with my peers, like they just wrapped, like they're just done. And quick tangent, I'll come back. I have a coworker who just finished his first season in Australia being a GM, and what he shared with me and our team as he was wrapping up was so impactful to me as I prepare to go into my first season in the role. So got 3 in Australia. We've got Tahoe, we've got Stevens, we've got Whistler Blackcomb. That's Doug Preedy overseeing the Rocky Centrals, which we'll just call Utah and Colorado. Also that resort, Crested Butte in there with the big 4 off of I-70 is Bill Rock. And then overseeing what is truly everything east of I-25 is the Eastern region. And that is a man named Tim Baker. And he has the largest number and well, we've got Australia, so we've got that on the West Coast, but that is Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, which is also the state of Pennsylvania. Those are interchangeable for us at this time. We don't own anything in the Mid-Atlantic outside of Pennsylvania, and then New England. So that's the structure that's there. And so my direct boss is, Doug Preedy, who oversees the West Coast. And some of our departments, mountain operations, report into our mountains, and then others report into those other leaders and those functions, the SG&A groups that are based out of Broomfield. So great. And now I will wait for the microphone.
Yeah, I thought you mentioned earlier that things were going fairly well.
It was further online.
Oh,
Yep.
I thought you mentioned earlier that things were going pretty well as far as employee recruitment.
Yeah.
So you feel pretty positive about that being much better than last year?
I feel very positive about it being much better than last year.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Are my feet up? No.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
This is it. We have to be staffed.
Yeah.
That was the crux of our issue last year. And so we're not done. And I'll take this opportunity to pivot to our biggest issue at the moment is housing.
Right.
So if anyone in this room or anyone online is aware of one room that I might be able to connect an employee to, or a property that was maybe for sale that didn't sell, where a 6-month lease will allow you to put it back on the market in the spring, or any other housing situation where it would be appropriate, we are still looking to sign leases. And we have employees who either are here and need help transitioning to housing in the winter, or are outside of the area who want to come here. They have signed up, they have said they will come, but they need help finding a place to live. We have our own things we're doing to try to help pair people up and find places to live. But we have the ability to take on leases, which reduces the burden of first and last months in security deposit. And that is the number one thing people who want to see Stevens at 100% staffing could help us get to.
Employee housing is always a big issue.
Absolutely.
And even worse now than it was years ago. So that's a huge challenge.
So that was my plug. But yes, feeling better, and we're not done. So
Just on the housing topic, I work for an organization that's trying to improve the affordable workforce housing here in Leavenworth. And Aspen is also working really hard on doing that, and they have reinstated the tenants returns, which is something that Stevens Pass did prior to Vail.
Yep.
And is that something that you're looking at for getting housing for your staff?
great question. Absolutely looking at it, have had a chance to review. Not at the point of pulling the trigger on it this year because there were some issues with how that program ran, and it can often be described in a way that was maybe a little bit more smooth, operated a little more smoothly than those who were working behind the scenes to keep it going. So still out there, still on the horizon. I think my question at this point would be if anyone who has participated in that program in the past would be interested in taking someone in, is there a way we could make that happen? Even though it wouldn't exactly be the same. And yeah, Upper Valley Mend has had meetings for both employees and employers. Dan, our housing manager, and I went to the one with employers. I met a local business owner. We went to breakfast, we had a conversation. He introduced me to a developer. I'm in contact with a developer about one of the things that we can do is sign leases for projects to help them get off the ground. And so that's something I'm actively doing and leads that we follow up on. And our biggest need is in the winter. So identifying businesses that have the need in the summer where we can help that continue. But it's something we bring to the table that we can commit to a multi-year lease to help a project go up. We were having this conversation ahead of time. Yeah. Appreciate the question. Great.
And we have a question online. As a major winter industry in Washington state, how much influence will you have with the state and the Department of Transportation to keep the highways open to allow access to the resort?
It's a good question, and I'm not afraid to say I don't know the answer. I think we're all waiting to see what this weekend and Monday looks like, and I feel for the communities. Yes, we will be impacted, and others more so. So it's yeah. It's a heavy drive.
Do you have a date in mind when you'll be fully staffed for this season?
Yeah, I'm a snowmaker, so I'm superstitious. Ain't gonna count them chickens till they hatch. Yeah, if anyone knows someone hiring, $20 an hour entry. Yeah, I appreciate the question and the seriousness of it, but yeah, we will be hiring till the day we open. We will hire through when we open. This is number one on that list of 3. Yeah. Hi.
Hello. So I'm sure we will. We had a freak snowstorm last year. It closed the highways for a week. People were trapped here, people were trapped there. There's not any way to like tell when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen. I am also superstitious and believe it will. Is there any safety net that you have in place for the workers that are going to be potentially out of work for however long it may take to get the resort back open?
Yeah, great question. So I think Highway 2, no Highway 2, Snowmageddon. Closures are more common for us on the west side of the pass. And that has always impacted Stevens Pass and will continue to. And so we not only have our employees who live at the summit, but those who stay at the summit in anticipation of those events. So that helps us most immediately. We are Epic Promise Foundation, which is a supporter of this organization and has an element to support our employees in need during emergencies and non-emergencies. And so we do compensate employees as a result of natural disasters, unforeseen events that was triggered this summer with the fires. That is something that we would look at as well. So we do what we can to help bridge those gaps. And then, yeah, hopefully what that is, that was in place last winter. That happened last January when folks either were working for that compensation or were not. So that's a good part. That's a big help when we face those situations. Yeah. Yeah. Bet.
Are there plans in the near future for the Yodelin housing building?
Great question. Had a meeting about it today, was there Tuesday, a couple days ago. Yes, we are doing everything we can to get Yodelin back online. That would be housing for 25 more people. The building is not condemned. The building's in great shape. It's tight, smells good. Windows are, it matters. Windows are boarded up to keep people from camping, overnighting in there. Makes it less of an attractive place to be. And working through processes to get back online and to ensure that that building is at the level that we want it to be at to house employees in it with a clear mind. So yes, goal would be next winter. Same, we're not there yet, but things continue to move along and to progress, which is great. It is not. That is in the myth category. Yes, you are welcome. It is not. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It was first time I walked in there. It's in good shape inside. So yes. Yeah. Great.
Beyond the primary challenge of hiring people, the last couple of years, there's been a lot of mechanical issues. The lifts are old. A lot of the lifts are old. And I know last year I think last 2 years, Double Diamond, Southern Cross weren't running, not because of staffing. The reason was their lifts were broken. Is that going to be an issue this year, or are they going to, is that whole area of operations, lifts, grooming as well? They didn't really do much grooming on the back. Is that something also that's going to be?
Yeah,
better?
so I'll share something that was said to me, and there's a little bit of humor in here, so hopefully you'll let me roll with that, and then I'll answer it more directly. Someone on our lift maintenance team told me that all of our lifts get together every summer and then they vote who's going to be the problem child that winter. And that, because that was the question I asked. I said, what's going on here? Tell me the deal with Southern Cross Double Diamond, which is just the coolest lift. And he said, yeah, it's often been very reliable, and that summer, that's what the lifts voted it would be. So I appreciated that. That said, we are fully staffed in our lift maintenance department. Our team's been working super hard. We have not been fully staffed in that department for the last couple of years. And we are, and the team is feeling confident going into this winter. Like I said before, safety is at the core of everything we do. And if we wake up in the morning or we discover something that happens midday, we're not going to risk it. We're gonna know that our lifts are good to go and when we open them.
Mechanical fixes, remember they had alternate chairs for half the season.
Sure, so that's,
Even though there were people working with it, they couldn't load every chair.
and if that's a compromise to get it open when a bigger fix is needed, that's a step that we may need to take. So we don't have any of those things happening right now with our lifts that there is no expectation that we are going into the winter with any type of reduced capacity on a lift. And we do our best with preventative maintenance. We always work toward and try to be at 100% when we open, and prepare for whatever can, and then we've got to deal with things that come at us. Staffing is also improving in our vehicle maintenance shop, which is terrific. We have a new vehicle maintenance manager that's up there. 2 employees have been working hard along with some additional helpers. And we shipped all of our piston bullies, 6 of our red cats, to Portland to the PDX office. And Caspor worked on our cats this summer, and that reduced the workload for that team to ensure that we could be ready to go for this winter. So yeah, not being at full strength in our shop, the best thing we could do to help that team was to get some help getting some of our machines ready. I think the last just arrived or is on its way back. So, and then we have 1 new cat that's coming in. One of those cats is going to go somewhere in the Midwest, Mid-Atlantic. I'm sorry, I can't tell you which resort it's going to, but it is freshly serviced and going to get back on a truck and head east. And a new machine is scheduled to arrive in mid-November as well. So continued investment in our infrastructure, and hiring for snowcat operators is going well too. Trying to think if any of our managers were on the call today. Yeah. So yeah, it's good. My grooming manager took our call today from a cat because it was a quiet place. It's nice to see.
What can you share about the 5 and 10-year plans for Stevens? And then also, are band nights going to be back this year?
There it is. Let's start with band nights. The Foggy will be open. I will wait to allow our food and beverage team to announce the hours, the days, what will be offered. That is their story to tell, and I want to not take their moment from them. So more to come from F&B. We've also been using the Foggy for our manager meetings, which I love. So the place is awesome. Some new chairs in the Foggy, but the orange is still there. Trust me, it's not going anywhere. 5 and 10-year plans. So my focus is on the immediate future. And just like this summer when we got our reps under us and we were in the rhythm and humming along, we have got to be going and got to be in a good place and just back to skiing and riding at Stevens Pass. We have a master development plan. We have continued projects that have been approved as part of the master development plan. And so my attention will shift over time in the coming months and years to what are we doing next? Where are we going next? The most immediate thing that people are likely aware of is the replacement of CARES chair next summer. So had a status update meeting on that lift today, which was great. We've done everything we can this fall. We're almost done with the last bit to be ready to go on construction in the spring for that new lift, which is a 4-person fixed script lift. It is not a high-speed lift because a fixed script seems most appropriate for, say it again. Oh, got it. Thanks, Ian. So feeding that a 4-seater, yeah, seems appropriate for that place on the mountain. Yeah. Yeah, there's other lifts on the mountain that have my attention. There's other amenities on the mountain that have, I mean, they have all of our attention. And so, yeah, more to come on that one. But yeah, just the lion's share of the time and attention on, man, we need to have a really good winter this year. And then look forward to be back another time with a slideshow of all the things that we can talk about that are happening. Yeah, so more to come on that.
You addressed bike park a little bit. It's been dormant for a couple years. The resort had a lot of catching up to do with deferred maintenance. What's the vision for bike park? I know in the community, there's a lot of concern about the political investment in that as a feature at the mountain. Is there a plan to expand it, maintain it? Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It felt good to be part of Bike Park is back. Bike Park is here to stay. Bike Park is what we want to do every summer. And it's an amazing bike park. One, the biking, two, the number of staff who are on year round and what that does for the resort and the community and the assets and resources that we are able to use all summer, which is fantastic. There are additional bike trails already approved that as we are in a place with trail maintenance and happy with how the current park footprint is running, we'll do our best to dedicate more resources to and to keep adding more variety to the park. Is there a potential for another lift? Yeah, there's a potential for another lift to help service the bike park. But I think focus next would be on continuing to build out those trails that are already approved, and then monitor demand and where we're at of when it might be time to talk further about adding another lift to what we offer.
Do you think the footprint will be the same next summer, or will it be a new trail for next summer?
I would expect the footprint to be the same next summer. Hopefully we are able to make more progress on at least one more trail. I wouldn't put the pressure on our team. It wouldn't be fair that would be done by the end of next season. Just we'll see what this winter does to the mountain, and we'll start by maintaining what we've got and then do our best to go from there. Yeah, some more to come. Yeah.
I appreciate Vail's focus on really good maintenance of existing facilities and kind of keeping the level of service up. Is there in the 5 or 10-year master plan that Vail has adopted basically through purchase, is there any opportunity for expansion of winter operations, additional lift potential, different expansion of the boundary, or expansion of existing facilities like lodges or anything like that to serve a larger population? Because we're seeing a lot more people coming up on the mountain, and it's getting really busy on some of those popular weekends. And so I'm curious kind of what the long-term plan might be there.
Yeah, great question. Yes, the approved master development plan includes terrain expansion. The boundary does not change. Our permit area is our permit area, but within that permit area, which exceeds our current footprint on many sides of the resort, there are additional trails, there are additional lifts. There is the opportunity. What I want to understand best next is, do we have the parking to facilitate that expansion? And how do we use best what we have? What does it look like to potentially add, modify what we have? It's not a flat parking lot, as we were discussing earlier up there. There isn't an obvious, why don't you just do this? So looking at that picture in totality, so how would any additional mountain capacity balance with parking capacity, and how do we influence behavior to maximize the spaces that we have? Carpooling, incentivizing folks to come with a friend. That was very hard during COVID. Yeah, so another great question, and look forward to talking about it more in the future. Yeah, lots of possibilities out there, but.
I think Stevens Pass has done a really good job in terms of sustainability and just thinking about the environment. And I'm wondering what Stevens specifically, or just Vail in general, is talking about in terms of climate change and how that's affecting our winters.
Yeah. So I think one, to honor Stevens Pass's legacy and what has been up to a 90% diversion rate from waste to landfill, which is so much more beyond admirable, and the culture that's there. And we have some work to do to get back to that point. Again, COVID, disposables, like it just took a toll on everybody, packaging, things like that. And so want to continue to focus locally on what we can do. Our Epic Promise team, our commitment to zero is forest, energy, and waste diversion. And so we are part of, please excuse me, I do not recall the name of the collectives of at least the 4 biggest North American, I should say continental United States ski resort companies in continuing to support, both through direct funding and other programming, what we can do to impact climate change, and then obviously have the most impact over energy, waste diversion, and then, you know, forest restoration projects to offset any disturbances that the developments in our already existing areas may have. So I am not the expert in our company to speak on more direct climate change initiatives, but it matters to our company, and we put our money behind it. Yeah, so proud of that. Yeah, keeping him busy. Good.
As a New Englander, I've seen the impact that Vail Corporation acquiring resorts has had on those resorts. One of the most recent things is at Stowe. They just sold out in minutes a $450 parking pass that doesn't even guarantee you parking. So you mentioned parking at Stevens. I've only been there once. I just moved to the area. And you mentioned there's limited parking there. Is there any plan to start implementing paid parking there? And a follow-on question is there any thought or plans, or maybe it already exists, I don't know about it, a ski shuttle from Leavenworth?
Yeah, great questions. No, there is no plan to implement paid parking for this season at this moment. It is my understanding A-Lot used to be paid parking. I still have rolls of the tickets in one of our offices. So they're pink, seen them. Yeah. And all things are on the table. There's been a lot of resorts that, with the demand for skiing over the last 2 years with COVID, you know, that demand has increased across the sport, and paid parking is one way to change behavior. It changes behavior. People do the math and they say, hey, call a buddy and carpool instead, or carpool lots that are free. So if you have 3 or 4 people in your car, yep, not charging for that. So yeah, those things are all out there. And I think as any business has to consider, you know, what levers can you pull? What can you do? So, but no, that's not currently on the table for us this winter. Shuttle from Leavenworth, great question. If you're an employee, there is a shuttle from Leavenworth. So yeah, so that helps with parking at the summit that several of us ride up in the employee shuttle. Would love to connect with businesses to talk about that. I think it's something that may have happened in the past, but it's not something I have a lot of information on at the moment. So if there were the demand and people were to use it, absolutely happy to have the conversation. Yeah. Thanks.
Kind of off of that question, we have one from online about asking if there's going to be a shuttle from Monroe this year again, and if so, what days they will be.
Currently evaluating the shuttle from Monroe. I'm sorry, I cannot provide a definitive yes or no at this moment. I was just meeting with Mish, our director of base ops, one of the days that preceded today in this week. And yeah, so we're working on our employee shuttle contract and looking at that one as well. So more to come. Yeah.
Yeah, about the shuttles. I'm not likely to do it myself. I live in Seattle, and I can tell you that I also have a place in Merritt. I can tell you that the traffic and the parking is dominated from people from the west side by far. So a shuttle from Leavenworth is, not that it's a bad idea, but it's not gonna put a dent in the parking situation or the traffic going home for us Seattleites. So shuttles would be great. My real dream is that, you know, the railroad tunnel goes right under Cowboy Mountain. How about a second railroad tunnel with a passenger train and an elevator that spits you out like
Yeah.
skyline? Yeah?
So one of my favorite, still one of my favorite coworkers from a previous position in my life, was in charge of the lift maintenance department at Beaver Creek. And it was jetpacks or tunnels and elevators. So you are not alone in this plight, for sure. So appreciate the gesture. And yeah, Stevens Pass has a very long history of buses coming to the mountain. And I had a terrific conversation with a member of our team about how family dynamics have changed in our culture over the last 40 to 60 years, and how ridership on those buses has decreased over time. And that's a reality that's out there. And we had our Monroe shuttle last year, and I believe we ran 2 buses on that shuttle, and it dropped to 1. I realized there were other things happening last year than just that, but the just ridership influences that we're all about continuing that program, those conversations. If people will ride the bus, and if they won't ride the bus, hopefully they will carpool. And yeah, so trains, got it. Yep, and elevators. Appreciate it. Yeah. Super. Good.
I have a question about employment. I know in the past, I don't know what your demographic for employees is now, but Vail itself has used a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? They're coming from all these different countries to work.
International student.
Yeah,
visas.
international exchange from working. Is that something that you're prioritizing for your housing? Because they're, you know, coming from potentially like not knowing the language and definitely not knowing anyone here unless they've already worked a couple of seasons in the area. Like, how are you kind of helping those people?
Yes, I had a housing allocation meeting today. We signed 3 contracts in the last 2 weeks, which gave us 59 additional beds, which was fantastic. And so meeting of the minds to not only who's applied, who said they've coming, who's doing this, and different jobs with different allocations, and pairing those all up and crossing T's and dotting I's, and those folks all have confirmation emails in their inboxes that they have beds right now. And yes, our international students who join us from roughly mid-December to mid-March are absolutely part of that. And yeah, we are slated to hopefully be welcoming even more of those international students than we have in the past. There's an attrition rate with that group, just like there is with any other employees, either that live here or that are coming from somewhere else. These are primarily college students who are on their summer break from where they are from, and are coming here, 1, to work on their English, and 2, to experience a different culture. And Stevens Pass is an amazing place to do that. And so we're really excited. And I think there was a takeaway today that we're also working on so what happens between when they land and when they show up from work, because it's an Uber from SeaTac is different. So yes.
So are you providing transportation at all between those points?
We are gonna make sure those employees make it here. how that is facilitated varies, but yes, we want to get them all the way. So, yeah. Yeah. Doing great.
My hubby over there is ski patroller for Stevens and I just one comment, positive comment is, you know, he gets health insurance, he gets retirement, you know, paid more. I think that's really great and helps family. So yeah, thank you for offering that to your staff.
And thank you for sharing your husband with us.
All right, I have a question online. I'm just gonna read it off. Has there been any conversations at Stevens or at Vail at large about reinstating in-person HR? The outsourcing of in-person members of the Stevens team to a phone line that often involves long wait times wasn't one of the most challenging aspects of the transitions for from an employee standpoint.
Yeah, appreciate the question and agree. And appreciated the ownership that our team has taken to say this is not acceptable. This is not okay. We have a partner from HR. She is remote, who is responsible for helping us elevate any concerns. There's now a estimated wait time and sign up for a callback at this moment feature on that, which helps. There's been a lot of change within our HR department, and I think that change is continuing. So at the moment, our support in HR is remote, and is designed to surround not only our employees but our managers in that way. And it's a lot better. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better. And I think continuous ongoing evaluation of what's working and what's not. It's something I'm really passionate about. And am trying to do everything I can to support that ongoing evolution. Yeah. I know you didn't ask the question exactly. Yeah.
On the note of HR, I think there's a misnomer that HR isn't every single manager in a company to some degree. So what kind of training and advancement for management skills are even supervisors going to be afforded in the new Stevens Pass?
Great question.
And
that's
it's okay.
Yeah, no, I got a couple. No, appreciate it. So I think there's many layers to that. Two big ones that kind of bookend are leadership management training. It is a huge part of being a manager, and it's something that I think we do both directly and indirectly at the manager level, and in our weekly management meetings. We've had a couple trainings. I was just speaking with one of our directors today about a training she is going to offer next week. And so just designed to help our managers as they think about and refine their plans for staff training. And so that's in person, that's hands-on. This individual actually comes with a tremendous leadership background. And there's a Rolodex of cards she could play here, but that's one that we have for sure. And then additionally, as part of the HR 2.0 reimagine is leadership training for all of our frontline employees that is tied to our Epic Service program. And so where our Epic Service program has been a little bit more directed at employee experiences and exchanges with guests, this is about, well, you're here and you're part of our team, and how do we grow you as a leader, and how do we help you gain from this experience, whether you stay with us for a season or you stay with us for a career or anything in between on that. And so starts with one introductory class, and then there will be follow-up that will include members of the senior team at Stevens. And given what we've got in our management pool, some from that group as well, got talent to tap there, and then continued both mix of online and in-person training. So someone can go, hey, I kind of want to go in this direction, or I want to go in this direction. There's 3 different avenues of what are you looking for as a new employee at Stevens Pass, or not necessarily new, but someone who may not be in that direct management line. So that's a big deal. That's a big investment that will evolve this winter. So yeah, looking forward to that. And same, while it's happening now, it's also something I'm really passionate about, and there's a lot we can do at the resort with staff that we have to help teach those classes and make that happen. So yeah, more to come. Great. Yeah.
Yeah, one more question. We're about at time. All right, any questions online?
Is there any talk of bringing back local ski schools? Clancy's and Lions brought so many youth to the sport of skiing and used buses to bring them to the mountain.
Yeah, appreciate it. No. With COVID, the decision was made to no longer have consignment ski schools at Stevens Pass. Same, have appreciated sitting down and learning from a former member of one of those schools, this evolution from, forgive me, I think it was 36 at peak, that went to 12, that went to 5, that's sort of 3 + 2 part-time, and what that evolution over the decades look like, and this feeling that may be coming. And I wasn't here for that, but we have an incredible ski school staff, and yeah, welcome instructors back to join us. But the model going forward is that it's the Stevens Pass Ski and Ride School. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I think that'll wrap it for now. Any last questions? Okay. Well, thank you, Ellen, for joining us, and thank you everyone for your great questions. Thank you everyone online for your questions, and I think that'll wrap it for tonight. So thank you, everybody. And as we're heading out the door, we get some help just picking the chairs up. They're heavy, so one at a time is usually best. And I'll pull the racks out over here, and we can.
Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.